So Anthony Davis is finally on a good team, and y'all just don't know how to act. One game winner and y'all just go crazy. So ever since AD scored that game winner against the Denver Nuggets, NBA Twitter has had some ridiculous hot takes. With the one we're going to focus on today being AD better than Tim Duncan is just egregious. Preposterous. Now don't get me wrong, AD is a fantastic player. I'm not taking anything away from him, but he's nowhere near the career of Tim Duncan, or even the player prime Tim Duncan was. Tim Duncan is the undisputed best power forward of all time, and I'm tired of seeing this hate on my timeline. Let's start this video off by taking a look at Tim Duncan's accolades. He's a 15-time All-Star, 15-time All-NBA selection, 5-time champion, 3-time Finals MVP, 15-time All-Defensive selection, 2-time MVP, along with running Rookie of the Year. Not to mention he won his first Finals MVP in only his second season, while averaging 27.4 points, 14 rebounds, 2.2 blocks, shooting 53% in that series. And all those accolades honestly don't even give the full story about how great Tim Duncan was. Now this part doesn't necessarily prove anything, but let's just take a look at what AD has done so far in his career. So in his 8 seasons, he has 7 All-Star appearances, 4 All-NBA selections, 4 All-Defensive selections, and he's a 3-time block champion. And before joining LA this season, he's only made the playoffs 2 times. And cause I know people are going to say something about this, yes, AD was a 3-time block champion, but in those 3 years he averaged 2.9, 2.8, and 2.6 blocks per game, all numbers Tim Duncan has matched in his career, so the champion part is kind of really irrelevant. So career wise, it's clear that AD just isn't there yet. A great career so far, but there's so much more he has to prove before he can even be in the conversation to Tim Duncan. So before this season with the Lakers, he only had 1 playoff series win, and in that series he did average 33 points, 11.8 rebounds, and 2.8 blocks. Great stats, but that's only 1 series win. So let's take a look at the playoffs that sparked this whole conversation. So in these playoffs so far, AD is averaging 28.9 points per game, 9.6 rebounds, and 1.2 blocks. Great numbers, but again, just not Tim Duncan level. Now, I'm not going to say that AD hasn't had an all-time great start to his career, because in all honesty, he has. But with that being said, it's still not the start Tim Duncan had, and it's still disrespectful. Now, Tim Duncan often doesn't get the praise he deserves because he wasn't necessarily a flashy player. With a nickname like the Big Fundamental, he's been labeled as boring, but that doesn't change the effectiveness he had on the court. Since this conversation started by some good AD performances, let's take a look at some of Tim Duncan's best series. First up, the 2003 Finals, where Tim Duncan averaged 24 points per game, 17 rebounds, 5 assists, and 5.3 blocks. That is ridiculous. Averaging 5 blocks in a series is just ridiculous. He almost had a near quadruple double in the closeout game 6 where he put up 21 points, 20 rebounds, 10 assists, and 8 blocks. And that came right after a monster game 5 of 29 points, 17 rebounds, and 4 blocks. Tim Duncan has some absolutely ridiculous playoff stat lines, regardless of how flashy or not he may have been. Some of the biggest points I've seen people bring up so far has been that AD is a better athlete, he's a better shooter, and somehow a better defender. Stop it. Just stop it. Now, shooting ability, I'll give AD that, at least from 3-point range he is. In athleticism, while I don't think that makes him better, yeah, I'll give that to him too. With that being said, I'm going to try to appeal to all the AD fans here and take a look at overall basketball ability and not just how good the career was. So, we're going to take a look at 9 different categories in this video. We're going to compare inside scoring, outside scoring, playmaking, athleticism, defense, rebounding, clutch ability, leadership, and basketball IQ. So, let's get right into it, with the first category being inside scoring. Now, Tim Duncan was one of the best post players of all time with his signature bank shot triple threat out of the post up. And yes, while AD can score inside, he's really nowhere near the level Tim Duncan was in his prime. So with inside scoring, I think we're going to give the edge to Tim Duncan here. So second is outside scoring. Now this one is pretty easy because Tim Duncan was never really a 3-point shooter. So this one goes to Anthony Davis. Regardless of how good Tim Duncan's mid-range was, outside scoring, I think we can easily give that one to AD. Now the third category, playmaking. Now neither of these players are really known as playmakers, but with that being said, Tim Duncan was always in a more passing, ball movement system. In terms of career averages, Tim Duncan averaged 3 assists and AD averaged 2.2, with both of their best seasons averaging 3.9 assists. So again, with no clear edge here, I'm going to give it to Tim Duncan, who has had a few double-digit assist games while AD has had none. So again, there's no real clear favorite here, but I will give it to Tim Duncan, mostly because of the system he played in. So next, we're going to look at athleticism. Now, in terms of athleticism, again, relatively easy, as Tim Duncan was again never a flashy, explosive player. AD has shown a lot more athleticism in his career than Tim Duncan has in terms of speed, vertical dunking ability. We're going to give that one to AD. So far it's 2 to Tim Duncan and 2 to Anthony Davis. And the fifth category we're going to look at is defense and rim protection. Now this one is a little bit harder because they're both phenomenal shot blockers and defenders. While Tim Duncan has the record for most all defensive team selections in history, again, longevity, we're not going to look at that. So in terms of career highs and blocks in a season, they both averaged 2.9. While Tim Duncan has the higher playoff average at 4.3 and AD averages 3 blocks a game, Tim Duncan has 30 playoff games with 5+ blocks, while AD has 0. And yes, I said I wouldn't look at longevity, so we're going to look at the first 27 games of each his career, since that's how many playoff games AD has played so far, at least when this video was made. So in the first 27 games, Tim Duncan had 5 games with 5+ blocks and AD had 0. So with that being said, I'm going to give the edge to Tim Duncan here. Now onto the sixth category, rebounding. Now Tim Duncan is one of the best rebounders of all time. In terms of career high in a season, Tim Duncan has had 12.9 and AD has had 12. And AD has only had one season where he's averaged 12 or more rebounds a game, and Tim Duncan has had 5. Now in terms of who's had more 20 rebound games, we're just going to look at the first 8 seasons here, since you know AD's only played 8. Tim Duncan has 21 and AD has 10. So with all that being said, we're going to give the rebounding edge to Tim Duncan here. Now the seventh category is going to be clutch ability. Now clutch is always a hard thing to, compare between two players, since there's not a lot of real stats to look at. It's all situational and usually kind of biased. But with that being said, from the research that I've seen, in terms of buzzer beating game winners, AD has 2, Tim Duncan has 3. And since 2000, Tim Duncan had a 46% clutch shot percentage and AD has a 51%. And considering I didn't have a lot of concrete stats to really pull out for this one, from what I did find, AD has been extremely clutch throughout his career so far, so we're going to give the edge to Anthony Davis in this situation. On to the 8th category, which is leadership. There's really no stats that I can say to support either this, so it's kind of just opinion based. With that being said, Tim Duncan has 3 Finals MVPs. He's always been known and said to lead by example, and AD in his career so far hasn't had much help before going to LA, and in LA he's not the leader, as of course LeBron is, so it's kind of hard to put any backing for AD here. Tim Duncan has even taken less money to keep his team together, has always been the on-court leader for the Spurs, and now even has an assistant coaching job for them, so I think it's easy to say this category goes to Tim Duncan. And last but not least, basketball IQ. Now, like I said before, no real stats to back this up, but like I just said previously, Tim Duncan is an assistant coach under Pop for the Spurs, and you know they don't just give those jobs to anybody. And now when I'm saying this, I'm not saying that AD's not a smart player. He's obviously a smart player to play at the level he's playing right now. And again, it's hard to gauge the IQ of AD as opposed to Tim Duncan. But with all that being said and how Tim Duncan's career has played out, now being a coach, I will give the edge to Tim Duncan. So after looking at all 9 categories, Tim Duncan leads in 6 categories, being inside scoring, playmaking, defense, rebounding, leadership, and IQ, while AD leads in the categories of outside scoring, athleticism, and clutch ability. Overall, like I said the whole video, AD just isn't on Tim Duncan's level, at least not yet. Now I'm not saying that AD won't eventually get there, because his career trajectory so far could lead there someday, but we can't have that conversation yet. So until then, put some respect on Tim Duncan's name. That's all that I ask. Flashiness does not equal greatness. Tim Duncan is the greatest power forward of all time, and as of right now, nobody is even close. But yeah, man, that's gonna be it for today's video. If you liked it, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe for more, and comment down and let me know what you thought about the video. Who do you think's better, Tim Duncan or AD? But until next time, it's been Quincy ID, and I'm out.